It's finally happening. Tomorrow, July 29th, the Buck Moon reaches its full power in Aquarius, and this is not just another full moon passing quietly through the sky. This is the Buck Moon, the moon of hidden growth becoming visible, private strength becoming undeniable, and the new authority that has been forming inside chosen ones finally beginning to reveal itself to the world. Just as the young buck grows a new set of antlers before the outside world can fully see what is happening, something in you has been growing privately. Something has been strengthening while you were questioning the delays. Something has been developing while the circumstances around you appeared unchanged. Something has been preparing itself beneath the surface while you wondered whether God had forgotten what he promised you. And tomorrow, under the light of this Buck Moon, that hidden growth is meant to become visible. But before we talk about tomorrow, I need to talk to you about today, because July 28th is not an ordinary waiting day. It is the final positioning day before the Buck Moon reaches fullness. It is the last energetic window in which everything that has been building throughout July is being aligned with the version of you that must receive it. And in these final hours, there is one mistake, one specific thing chosen ones do when they become tired of waiting. One thing that introduces interference at the exact moment the energetic field needs to remain clear. One thing that turns expectation into desperation, alignment into resistance, and a breakthrough that was almost ready to land into another painful delay. I need you to know what that mistake is before the window closes, because what you do in these final hours determines whether you enter tomorrow ready to receive or whether you return to the same frequency the Buck Moon was preparing to remove you from. The mistake is this: trying to force the breakthrough before the Buck Moon releases it. That is the mistake. Trying to make something happen tonight because you are afraid nothing will happen tomorrow. Sending the message because the silence has suddenly become unbearable. Reopening the door because waiting has made you question whether God is still working. Explaining yourself again to someone who already understands you but benefits from pretending they do not. Telling the wrong people what you are expecting because you need someone else to confirm that it is real. Lowering your expectations because past disappointment has taught you that hope is dangerous. Making a rushed decision because you believe movement of any kind is better than another hour of uncertainty. This is how the final alignment becomes disturbed. This is how chosen ones come within inches of a breakthrough and then use fear to pull themselves back toward the exact cycle they were being prepared to leave. Before we continue, write asterisk, I will not force it in the comments. Write it if you are protecting these final hours before the Buck Moon. Write it if you are refusing to turn impatience into a decision. Write it if you understand that what God has prepared does not need to be chased, manipulated, begged for, or dragged into your life before its appointed moment. Your responsibility today is not to create the breakthrough. Your responsibility is to remain aligned enough to receive it. Now let me explain why the Buck Moon makes this final day so sensitive. The Buck Moon receives its name from the season in which young male deer begin revealing the new antlers that have been growing from their heads. Those antlers do not appear at full strength in one night. They grow through a protected stage. They begin soft. They begin covered. They begin vulnerable. They are alive, sensitive, and still forming. The buck does not strike every tree to prove that growth is happening. It does not use the antlers before the structure is strong enough. It does not damage the protected stage because it is impatient to demonstrate its power. It allows the process to complete. And when the growth is ready, what was once hidden becomes the visible symbol of strength, maturity, protection, and authority. That is exactly what has been happening to your breakthrough. Something has been growing inside a protected stage. Your confidence has been developing. Your discernment has been sharpening. Your ability to recognize false opportunities has been strengthening. Your relationship with your own voice has been changing. Your willingness to stop begging for what should be offered freely has been increasing. Your ability to leave confusion without demanding one final explanation has been forming quietly. Your capacity to carry a larger blessing has been developing beneath the surface. And because most of this growth happened internally, you may have underestimated how much has changed. You have been looking for the external reward while God has been building the internal structure required to hold it. You have been asking where the opportunity is while your judgment was being strengthened so you would not surrender that opportunity to the wrong person. You have been asking where the relationship is while your standards were being rebuilt so that you would not call inconsistency love again. You have been asking where the money is while your habits, boundaries, and understanding of value were being corrected. You have been asking where the recognition is while your identity was being separated from the opinions of people who only knew the version of you that doubted itself. The Buck Moon is not coming to begin the process. It is coming to reveal what the process has already produced. And this is why forcing something today is so dangerous. When you force the outcome in the final hours, you act from the old identity before the new identity has fully taken control. You use the same behavior that belonged to the version of you who feared being forgotten, the version who feared missing out, the version who feared losing people, the version who feared that nothing good would happen without constant effort, the version who believed that silence meant rejection, the version who believed that delay meant denial, the version who believed that if they stopped chasing, everything would disappear. You reach backward at the exact moment your life is preparing to move forward. The universe is checking one thing today. Can you remain in the new frequency when the old fear becomes loud? Can you maintain your standard when the person you wanted suddenly appears? Can you remain silent when your ego wants to prove that you were right? Can you continue preparing when everyone around you is asking for an announcement? Can you hold the larger expectation when past disappointment tells you to ask for something smaller? Can you allow the final stage to complete without digging up the seed to see whether it is growing? Can you trust that what belongs to you will not require you to betray yourself in order to receive it? This is the test of July 28th. Now there are 3 specific ways this mistake appears, and I need you to recognize each one before the day ends. The first is emotional chasing. The energy before a full moon intensifies whatever is already active inside you. If you have been thinking about a person, the thought may become stronger. If a conversation remains unfinished, the urge to resolve it may feel urgent. If someone has been silent, their silence may suddenly feel louder than it did yesterday. If you have been trying to release a connection, old memories may return with unusual intensity. And because the Buck Moon is approaching, you may interpret that intensity as a spiritual instruction to reach out. But intensity is not always instruction. Sometimes the feeling is simply showing you where your attachment still lives. Sometimes the restlessness is revealing what still has power over your peace. Sometimes the urge to send the message is not the universe telling you to move. It is the old cycle realizing that it is losing access to you. The old cycle becomes loud when it senses that you are about to outgrow it. That is why certain people return just before you finally release them. That is why old memories become vivid just before a new identity stabilizes. That is why doubt often increases immediately before a breakthrough. That is why the temptation to return becomes strongest immediately before you are ready to move on. The old frequency is not stronger than the new one. It is simply making one final attempt to be chosen. Do not choose it. If someone contacts you today, do not immediately give them the same access they had before. Listen to what they are actually saying. Pay attention to whether they are bringing clarity or only emotion. I miss you can be sincere, but it does not automatically mean, I am ready to build differently. I have been thinking about you can be real, but it does not automatically repair the inconsistency that created the distance. I made a mistake can be honest, but it does not automatically mean the person has developed the capacity required to stop repeating it. The Buck Moon is exposing capacity. Can this person carry the version of you that is emerging? Can they communicate when the conversation becomes uncomfortable? Can they respect a boundary without punishing you? Can they offer consistency after the first emotional moment passes? Can they meet you in truth rather than pulling you back into interpretation? Can they support your expansion without requiring you to become smaller so they can remain comfortable? Do not destroy your breakthrough by accepting contact as proof of transformation. Let time reveal what one message cannot. And if you are the one tempted to reach out, ask yourself one question. Am I sending this message to create clarity, or am I sending it to escape the feeling of uncertainty? If the message is clear, honest, necessary, and aligned, you will still be able to send it after the emotional wave settles. But if the message exists only to make anxiety disappear, the relief may last one night while the confusion continues for another month. You have already survived the silence. Do not use the final day before the Buck Moon to rebuild the cage you were finally learning to leave. The second way the mistake appears is through exposure to the wrong people. People carry energy. Every conversation leaves something behind. Every person you allow into your inner world introduces their expectations, fears, limitations, hopes, and emotional patterns into your energetic field. On an ordinary day, you may be able to listen without losing your own direction. But today, your field is in a final stage of calibration. The breakthrough is being aligned with your expectation, your self-concept, your readiness, and your willingness to receive. This is not the day to give everyone access to what is forming. There are 3 types of people whose energy you need to manage carefully today. The first type is people who live in the frequency of cynicism. These are people who have experienced disappointment and turned disappointment into a permanent philosophy. They do not simply believe that one plan may fail, They believe that nothing truly changes. They believe every opportunity hides a trap. They believe hope is foolish. They believe anyone expecting something larger is preparing to be embarrassed. Their pain may be real. Their experiences may be valid. But their frequency is not where your breakthrough needs to be aimed. If you spend these final hours explaining your hope to someone committed to hopelessness, you begin negotiating against your own expectation. You reduce the vision so they will not judge you. You speak about the breakthrough as though it is unlikely. You pretend not to care because caring makes you feel exposed. You lower the target so that their reaction will not hurt, and without realizing it, you adjust the aim. Do not lower the ceiling today. The second type is people who carry jealousy disguised as concern. These are people who support you as long as your growth remains theoretical. They are comfortable with your dream while it is far away. They encourage you while you are struggling. They tell you that you deserve more while they believe more is still distant. But when the opportunity becomes real, when your confidence becomes visible, when your life begins moving beyond the position they associated with you, their energy changes. They ask questions that do not help you prepare. They ask questions that make you doubt whether you deserve the expansion. They remind you of every time something failed. They suddenly become concerned that you are changing. They tell you not to forget where you came from. They say you should be realistic when what they really mean is that your expansion is forcing them to confront their own limitations. Do not argue with them. Do not accuse them. Do not make them the enemy. Simply stop placing the fragile stage of your breakthrough inside hands that contract around your growth. The third type is people who carry the energy of control. These are people who want to tell you exactly how the breakthrough must happen. They may love you, they may genuinely believe they are protecting you, but they need your path to remain understandable to them. They approve of your growth only when it follows a route they recognize. They want you to choose the safe job, the familiar partner, the predictable timeline, the version of success that does not require the entire system around you to adjust. Aquarius energy is future-facing. It breaks old structures. It challenges inherited limitations. It asks whether the life you are building reflects your truth or merely repeats what the group considers acceptable. And on the final day before an Aquarius Buck Moon, pressure to conform can become the interference that redirects the entire breakthrough. You do not need to reject everyone who disagrees with you. You need to know who has earned access to the early stage. Qualified guidance strengthens the plan. Fearful control shrinks it. Honest questions improve the structure. Jealous questions attack your right to have the structure. Discern the difference. The third way chosen ones force the breakthrough is by lowering their expectation at the final moment. This is more subtle. You may not send the message. You may not reopen the door. You may stay away from the wrong people. But inside your mind, you begin preparing for disappointment. You feel the possibility growing. You feel the energy changing. You feel that something significant is near. And then a protective voice says, "Do not get too excited. Do not expect too much. Remember what happened last time. Ask for something smaller. Prepare yourself for nothing to change." And because you believe this voice is protecting you, you lower the expectation. You reduce the target. You shrink the dream into something that feels safer to lose. You tell yourself that you will be grateful for whatever happens, but beneath those words you have stopped believing that the larger breakthrough can reach you. Do not do this. Do not lower the ceiling in the final hours. Humility does not mean expecting a life beneath your calling. Gratitude does not mean refusing expansion. Spiritual maturity does not require you to pretend your desire does not matter. You can hold a full expectation without controlling the exact form. You can expect love without demanding that it come through the person who repeatedly created confusion. You can expect abundance without placing all your hope inside one risky opportunity. You can expect recognition without allowing one audience to control your worth. You can expect an open door while remaining willing to see that the correct door may not be the one you have been staring at. Hold the essence fully. Release the form enough for God to exceed it. Now let me tell you what to fill your energetic field with instead. Because the instruction is not only about what to avoid, it is about what to actively cultivate before the Buck Moon reaches fullness. Fill it with expectation, real expectation, not forced positivity, not pretending that you never feel fear, not performing happiness while your body remains tense. Real expectation is the decision to leave room for an outcome larger than the one your past trained you to predict. You have been managing your expectations downward for years. Every time excitement rises, a protective voice warns you. Every time the possibility begins looking real, the past reminds you of another disappointment. Every time your spirit feels expansion, your mind reduces the target so that the fall will hurt less. This strategy may have protected you from one emotional crash. but it also trained you to aim beneath what you truly desire. The Buck Moon is growth energy. It reveals what has developed. It illuminates what has been expanding beneath the surface. Do not spend the final hours telling the universe you are available only for survival when your soul has been preparing for expansion. Fill your field with stillness. The hours before a full moon create noise inside and outside. Emotions rise, people react, conversations become charged. Your mind begins searching for confirmation. You scroll, you check, you replay, you imagine. You look for another sign because the sign you already received requires trust. But what is meant for you may enter as a quiet knowing before it appears as a visible event. You will miss that knowing if every empty moment is filled with another voice. Create a pocket of silence today. Turn off the input. Sit without trying to manifest, fix, analyze, or predict. Ask one question. What have I known for weeks that I keep delaying because the answer requires me to change? Then listen. The answer may be about a relationship. It may be about money. It may be about your work. It may be about the way you continue making yourself available to people who are never truly available to you. It may be about the gift you keep hidden because visibility would remove your excuses. It may be about the decision you keep asking God to repeat because you did not like the first answer. The Buck Moon does not always bring new information. Sometimes it brings the courage to obey information you already received. Fill your field with specificity. The buck does not grow antlers in every direction. Growth follows a structure. Your intention needs the same clarity. What is the breakthrough you are protecting? Name it. I am protecting my new relationship standard. I am protecting the project I am finally preparing to release. I am protecting the financial discipline that is creating stability. I am protecting the peace I gained by no longer chasing unclear people. I am protecting the version of me that speaks directly and walks away from what cannot meet me. I am protecting the future that requires me to stop explaining myself to the past. Vague desire creates scattered action. Specific intention allows you to recognize which behavior supports the breakthrough and which behavior threatens it. Once you name the breakthrough, name the interference. Is it loneliness, the need for approval, fear of missing out, the urge to explain yourself, the belief that one wrong move will destroy everything, the habit of lowering your expectations before anyone else can disappoint you? You cannot protect what you refuse to define. Now I want to tell you what the Buck Moon is specifically preparing to release. You need to know what to recognize when it begins appearing. The first release is identity expansion. Aquarius carries the energy of individuality, freedom, the future, community, and the courage to exist beyond collective expectations. The Buck Moon carries growth, developing strength, and new authority. Together, these energies illuminate the version of you that no longer fits inside the role other people assigned. You may suddenly feel less willing to explain your choices. You may recognize that the approval you have been waiting for is no longer required. You may feel a stronger pull toward a project, community, lifestyle, or direction that reflects who you are becoming rather than who you have been. You may understand that the version of you created for survival cannot lead the life being prepared for expansion. This identity growth may feel uncomfortable. The old identity came with relationships, habits, expectations, and predictable reactions. When you change, the system around you must adjust. Some people will celebrate the expansion, some will question it. Some will attempt to call you back through guilt, nostalgia, fear, or doubt. Do not interpret resistance as proof that you are moving incorrectly. Sometimes resistance is evidence that your movement has become real enough to affect the old structure. The second release is relational truth. The Buck Moon light reveals what has grown and what has survived only through hope. A connection built on truth may deepen. A person may communicate more clearly. A relationship may move from possibility toward structure. But a connection built on ambiguity may become harder to romanticize. You may finally see that the person's inconsistency is not a temporary phase. You may understand that the relationship was meaningful without being sustainable. You may recognize that you were carrying the emotional labor for both people. You may see that someone wants access to your energy but not responsibility for your heart. You may realize that you have been calling a repeated wound a spiritual connection because admitting the limit felt too painful. This truth is not arriving to punish you. It is arriving to return your energy. The moment you stop feeding what cannot grow, that energy becomes available for what can. The third release is directional clarity. For weeks you may have been looking at several possibilities. Every option appeared to contain promise and risk. You asked for the complete map. You asked for every detail. You asked to know exactly what would happen before you moved, but the answer remained incomplete. The Buck Moon may not give you every step, it may give you one unmistakable direction. This way, toward the work that makes you feel more alive, toward the conversation that ends the guessing, toward the boundary that protects the larger future, toward the opportunity that increases your capacity instead of only your visibility, toward the community that recognizes the version of you now emerging. Toward the life that feels unfamiliar because it is not built from inherited limitation. Do not demand the whole map before taking the next aligned step. The arrow does not need to see every point between the bow and the target. It needs clear direction and a clean release. The fourth release is abundance through expansion. Abundance may come financially, but it can also arrive as access, information, ideas, introductions, confidence, time, support, visibility, and freedom from a pattern that consumed your energy. Chosen ones often miss abundance because they are waiting for only one form. A person introduces you to someone who changes your professional direction. A small project reveals a larger audience. A rejection pushes you away from weak terms and toward ownership. A boundary returns hours of time every week. A truth ends a relationship cycle that drained your focus for years. An idea arrives that connects several things you had been trying to solve separately. These are forms of abundance because they increase what becomes possible. Do not reject the seed because it does not yet look like the forest. The fifth release is energetic restoration. July may have exhausted you. You may have felt that you were holding your frequency without receiving enough external confirmation. You continued believing while circumstances remained slow. You continued preparing while nobody could see the result. You continued carrying a vision through days that made the vision difficult to defend. You continued moving while part of you wondered whether anything was actually changing. The Buck Moon restores what the waiting consumed. Hope begins returning. A project feels alive again. The future stops appearing like a repetition of the past. Your body may feel a release before your circumstances visibly change. This restoration matters because you do not receive only through opportunity. You receive through the energy available to respond when opportunity appears. An exhausted person may overlook the opening. A discouraged person may reject the message. A person trapped inside old disappointment may interpret a new possibility through an old failure. The Buck Moon is preparing to refill the part of you that must recognize the breakthrough when it arrives. Now let me tell you what tonight looks like. Tonight is the final night before the Buck Moon reaches fullness. The energy is already near its peak. The field is already responding. You may feel restless. You may wake at unusual hours. You may think about someone you believed you released. You may feel pressure to do something immediately. You may experience a strange mixture of excitement and fear. Do not allow restlessness to choose the action. Use tonight as a receiving chamber. Before sleep, remove unnecessary input for at least 30 minutes. No scrolling, no searching for another prediction, no checking whether someone viewed your page, no filling the silence with people who have no relationship to what God is preparing. Take a page and write 3 headings. The first heading: what has been growing in me? Write what is stronger now than it was at the beginning of July. Your voice, your boundary, your discernment, your discipline, your courage, your willingness to release confusion, your belief that something larger is possible. The second heading: what am I tempted to force? Write the message, decision, announcement, purchase, agreement, or return that pressure is pushing you toward. Do not judge yourself, name it. The third heading: what would alignment do instead? Perhaps alignment waits until the emotional wave settles. Perhaps alignment asks a direct question. Perhaps alignment finishes the work before announcing it. Perhaps alignment protects the boundary. Perhaps alignment reviews the numbers. Perhaps alignment rests. Perhaps alignment allows someone else to show their natural effort without rescuing the connection. When you finish, say, I will not use fear to interrupt what God has been building. I will not force the breakthrough before its time. I will remain clear, expectant, and available for the form that is truly aligned with me. Then place the page beside your bed. Pay attention to what comes in the moments before sleep and immediately after waking. The mind is quieter in those thresholds. A sentence may surface, a direction may feel clear, a name may appear, a decision may settle. Write it down before the noise of the day begins. Now I want to go deeper because chosen ones need to understand what the delay has actually been doing. The delay was not empty. The delay trained your capacity. The silence trained your discernment. The rejection trained your independence. The uncertainty trained your ability to remain aligned without constant confirmation. The closed door forced you to develop what the open door will require. You thought nothing was happening because the external result had not appeared. But the Buck Moon reveals growth that occurred before visibility. The antlers were forming beneath the velvet. The authority was developing before anyone could recognize it. The breakthrough was preparing you before it presented itself. And now you are on the last day. Do not turn around. Do not reopen what God used July to close. Do not ask the wrong people whether your expansion is allowed. Do not reduce the target. Do not spend the final hours proving that you can still survive the old cycle. You already survived it. Now prepare to outgrow it. Write *ALIGNED in the comments if you are keeping your energetic field clear until the buck moon reaches fullness. Write it if you are protecting your expectation. Write it if you refuse to let one emotional moment undo an entire month of inner growth. Now let me speak directly to the chosen ones who are afraid they will do everything right and still be disappointed. You have experienced near misses before. You believed something was coming and the door closed. You trusted someone and they withdrew. You prepared and another person was chosen. You held hope and the result did not match the hope. Those experiences created a memory inside your system. Now every time expansion approaches, part of you begins preparing for loss. The fear is not proof that this breakthrough will fail. It is the echo of a moment in which you learned that anticipation could hurt. You do not need to shame that part of yourself. You need to stop allowing it to aim the arrow. The past can provide information. It cannot be allowed to determine the maximum size of your future. Ask what the earlier miss taught you. Did you ignore a pattern? Did you depend on one person? Did you accept vague terms? Did you announce before preparing? Did you abandon your own standard because you were grateful to be considered? Use the information, correct the alignment, then stop treating the lesson as a prophecy. This time you are not entering the window with the same awareness. You recognize emotional chasing. You recognize false urgency. You recognize jealousy, control, and cynicism. You know that contact is not commitment. You know that praise is not structure. You know that intensity is not always intuition. You know that one closed form does not mean the essence of your desire has been rejected. That knowledge changes the trajectory. Now let me tell you what may happen after the buck moon reaches fullness. The first thing many chosen ones will feel is release. The issue that felt enormous may suddenly lose its emotional control. You may still need to address it, but it will no longer feel like it defines your entire future. This is the release of the old frequency. The second thing will be recognition. You will recognize what belongs to the next chapter and what belongs to the identity you have outgrown. A person, habit, plan, excuse, or fear will become easier to place. The third thing will be movement. A message, idea, conversation, invitation, or internal decision may begin moving the energy that felt blocked. Do not rush to interpret the first sign as the whole breakthrough. Allow movement to build. The fourth thing will be a test of stewardship. What will you do with the new clarity? Will you protect it? Will you create structure? Will you return to the people who made you doubt it? Will you use the energy to complete something or spend it explaining what you plan to complete? The buck moon does not only deliver, it reveals whether you are prepared to carry what is delivered. The moments after the peak matter. Take 5 minutes. Do not open your phone immediately. Sit with your body. Notice what feels different: relief, excitement, peace, grief, a quiet certainty. Do not decide what you are supposed to feel. Receive what is actually present. Then ask, what is the first action this new energy is asking me to take? Write the answer. Complete it within 48 hours. The action may be small, but it anchors the energetic shift into the visible world. Send the application, finish the page, create the account, request the meeting, set the boundary, remove the access, accept the invitation, say no to the weak offer. A breakthrough becomes visible when energy becomes behavior. Chosen one, you are closer than the circumstances have allowed you to believe. The final hours often feel longest because the old identity senses that it is losing authority. It creates one final storm, one final urge, one final return. One final voice saying nothing is coming and you need to make something happen yourself. Do not obey the storm, protect the field, hold the expectation, complete the next honest action. Let what has been growing reveal itself at full strength. You have already completed the difficult part. You survived the hidden stage. You continued while the evidence was incomplete. You learned what the delay came to teach. You released people you once believed you could not live without. You became more careful with your energy. You recognized that your gift does not require universal approval. You began choosing truth over temporary comfort. Tomorrow is not the beginning of your growth. Tomorrow is the illumination of it. So do not make the big mistake today. Do not force the message. Do not force the agreement. Do not force the timeline. Do not force yourself back into the old room merely because the new door has not opened visibly yet. Remain where God positioned you. The buck moon is almost full. The antlers are almost revealed. The authority that developed in private is preparing to become visible. The breakthrough is approaching the version of you that can finally hold it. Write, I will protect my breakthrough * in the comments if you are staying aligned through these final hours. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because after the buck moon peaks, the energy changes quickly, and you need to know how to recognize what has been released into your life. You did not come this far to lower the target now. You did not survive the testing to return to the lesson. You did not build a new frequency to hand your future back to an old fear. Let the Buck Moon complete what July began. Let the hidden growth become visible. Let the arrow leave the bow without interference. Let the breakthrough find the clear field it has been moving toward. Do not chase it, do not shrink it, do not force it, protect it, receive it. And when it arrives, chosen one, be ready to become the person your prayers have been preparing you to be.